You also mentioned that some steps about how you jump into the water, and where do you start. It's a bit complex for people, obviously, getting off the plane in Beijing. Where do I start?
Right. I think before we jump into where do I start, I think there's two more elements that companies need to check. The second element, after checking that the product is actually is needed in China, the second element is the budget. And people are very surprised to realize that China is not cheap anymore, if it was ever cheap for companies. And therefore, you need to assess what will be the needs for you to run your business in China, assuming that profits will not come immediately. There will be a lot of hurdles and obstacles and things that you need to invest, like in any other business, and don't expect profits right away. So from our perspective and our experience, for small, medium-sized company to run a business with one person in China, a good salesperson, it would need at least $100,000 per year, just to test the market, just to get the initial distribution channels and start selling into China. And if you're lucky, you'll get some profits in the first year. In other cases, and in most of our cases, that it takes more than 1 year to see profits. If you're lucky, you break even after 1 year. But you need to be prepared to invest a lot of money into the Chinese market. Sellers are not cheap. Rent is not cheap. If you need to send a family into China, is very, very expensive. So you need to take the budget element into consideration. The third element, which for us is the most important one, you need to ask yourself or your company, do you have the managerial resources to manage a business in China? Now, it doesn't mean that you have to relocate an Australian person to China, but you need to have someone in the head office thinking about the Chinese market almost every day, because the China operation will require a lot of management resources. There will be a lot of issues. There will be a lot of questions. And if you run a person remotely from Australia, this person, whether it's a sales, training, support, mentoring, and they need to feel that the China market is important and that you give enough attention to the market. Because if you just hire somebody and expect him to bring the business, it's not going to happen. You need to manage it. You need to know where is he, what is he doing, where is she traveling, who did he meet, what are the potential. The fact that he brings a few distributors doesn't mean that you captured the business. You need to maintain the business. And obviously, if you're managing remotely from Australia, you need to visit your China operation quite often. Once a year is not enough. You need to come and meet with clients, you meet with distributors, you need to do the whole ceremony of eating together and dining together, and making your employee feel that you care about them, and making your distributors and all your sales channels feel that you care about them and you want the China business to succeed. So management resources is, for us, is the number one, because for all the businesses that we met, the main problem was that they didn't pay enough attention to the China market. They normally have one person in charge of China, Japan, Thailand, Vietnam, but China is not just another country. China is a continent, just like Australia. Like Australia with 1.5 billion people. So it's not something that you do with any other country. You need to dedicate a lot of management resources to China.